From the very first day of full-scale aggression, Ukraine instantly started to use available international tools to protect human rights. One of such tools to protect violated human rights is the application to the European Court of Human Rights. On 28 February 2022, Ukraine requested the European Court of Human Rights to indicate urgent interim measures to the government of the Russian Federation under Rule 39 of the Rules of Court. On March 1st, the European Court of Human Rights has decided to indicate to the government of Russia to refrain from military attacks against civilians and civilian objects in Ukraine. Ukraine also filed an application instituting proceedings against the Russian Federation before the International Court of Justice on the violation of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. Ukraine filed a request for the indication of provisional measures, and on March 16, 2022, the International Court of Justice ruled an order indicating provisional measures. The order indicated that the Russian Federation shall immediately suspend the military operations. Does anybody see a reaction by Russia? We gained strong political support from the Council of Europe on the track of obtaining reparations and holding Russia accountable. On September 15, 2022, the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe adopted a decision which inter alia stressed the urgent need to ensure a comprehensive system of accountability for serious violations of international law arising out of Russia's aggression against Ukraine. The Council of Europe, as a leading international organization that promotes human rights, democracy, and the rule of law within the European regional order, fully understand the importance of avoiding impunity and preventing further such terrible violations. In November, we expect the political support of more than 100 countries of the world regarding the adoption of the resolution of the General Assembly on reparations to Ukraine and the creation of a compensation mechanism during the emergency session of the United Nations General Assembly. Ukrainians are fighting for justice and full international accountability for the aggressor. Nowadays, no existing national or international court or tribunal can fully repair and redress damage, holding Russia accountable for this destruction and ensuring that such awards of compensations are adhered to unconditionally. Existing international instruments, for instance, the International Court of Justice, the European Court on Human Rights, arbitral investments tribunals, for various reasons, would not guarantee effective delivering of reparations, including financial payments. United Nations or Council of Europe human rights defending mechanism do not have necessary mandate. Geneva Conventions for the Protection of War Victims of 1949 and additional protocols to them provide the International Committee of Red Cross with a unique humanitarian mandate, but it cannot protect from serious violations and punish Russia for such violations. In terms of compensation for damage caused by armed aggression, international claims commissions are proven international instruments created under international law in post-conflict situations. They allow consideration of claims related to violations of international law and compensation for them. Ukraine has been working on the creation of unique international instruments, specifically the International Compensation Mechanism and the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine. Compensation mechanism will be established according to the international law and shall be applied and regulated under international law through the treaty or other international legal instrument. The same relates to the creation of the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine. The creation is necessary since, to date, there is no international court or tribunal which would be able to prosecute Russian political and military leadership for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. Creation of the special tribunal will eliminate this gap. The compensation mechanism would establish the compensation fund to gather resources for the payment of compensation awards. The source for the fund will be finance gained from sale of confiscated assets of Russia and Russians on the territory of treaty participating states. Besides voluntary contributions by the third states, Ukrainian and international charity funds shall not be excluded. The final set of sources for filling the compensation fund will be agreed upon the conclusion of an international treaty. The war began in February and has been lasting on for more than 7 months. Every day, in connection with armed aggression, more and more destruction and damage occur. People suffer from war. Anyone whose property is damaged or destroyed shall properly document the facts on the damage and record the losses. The Ukrainian government has already developed the methods for calculating damages, depending on their types. To date, a unified platform for collecting information on the damage caused has already been implemented and clarifications have been provided on how to enter information, for example, on damaged property. Ukrainian bar community has repeatedly discussed and brought to the general public the recommendations to document damages so that in the future such evidence can be used for further compensation. Well, and of course, victims should monitor the progress in creating a compensation mechanism. It depends on political readiness of Ukraine's allies to establish the special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. From the moment of its formal creation, time is needed to determine the location of the special tribunal, to staff it with judges and administrative personnel, as well as to resolve other technical details of its functioning. For example, the Nuremberg International Military Tribunal began its work on November 20, 1945, and passed its verdict on October 1, 1946. The International Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia was established by the resolution of the United Nations Security Council on May 25, 1993, and the first indictment was filed in 1994, and the first verdict was passed in 1996. In terms of time, we can only focus on historical precedents, but we should take into account the peculiarity of the circumstances of Russian aggressions against Ukraine. At the same time, war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by the Russian military on the territory of Ukraine can already be considered by the International Criminal Court. An investigation of the situation in Ukraine is already in process.